I will tell you that I first saw the story yesterday. I thought it was a joke when I first saw it. Thanksgiving weekend, a couple of guys got together, some computer programmers, code guys, whatever, and duplicated the ArriveCan app, the one that was talked about for so long that the government finally said, well, no, you don't have to do it. It's optional. They recreated the program. And to be fair, it's one thing to develop a program. It's quite another, to be fair, to just duplicate it, right? Okay. But they did a pretty nice job. They copied the whole thing the way it was. And I wanted to talk about this with CARMI Levy, because CARMI, CARMI, by the way, is our CJAD 800 tech expert. When you saw this story, CARMI, was your first reaction to sit back and smile? Because that's what I thought when I looked at this, saying this can't be true, this is a joke. And then it turned out not to be a joke. They said, the guys who did this, right, over the weekend, that it would cost around $250,000, they estimated, to have created this from scratch. And then we find out the government spent how much money to create the ArriveCan app, Carmi?
$54 million, which is bad enough. But, the government had earmarked $25 million in the last budget for the app. So how we went from $25 million to $54 million, I don't know. But it's an awful lot of money. And for an app that really doesn't do a whole lot, it's not that sophisticated an app. It's a bunch of forms. It's a bunch of documents. It's not really, as compared to the millions of other apps in the app stores, there isn't a whole lot going on there. And so where the $54 million figure comes from, I don't know. It reminds me, it almost feels like, remember the Phoenix Pay system that didn't work, still doesn't work, by the way. And we are billions of dollars into the development and repair fees for it. We're still not there yet. So it's just another example of government throwing huge amounts of money. There were 23 different companies that were involved in developing ArriveCan, each one of which had a certain piece of it. So it's political pork defined. And Canadians, on the one hand, are paying for all of this, and on the other hand, are being forced to use an app that, quite frankly, costs multiples more what it should have and still doesn't do a particularly good job of anything. It's just another example of why governments have no business being in technology at all.
I want to ask about, first of all, and I want to be fair here, because these guys, call them hackers, whatever else, although they weren't trying to hack anything. They were just trying to duplicate this thing because it seemed like they spent so much money, the government did, as you just described, for something that, didn't need to be, have that much money attached to it. Is it fair to say, yes, okay, it's one thing to duplicate, another to create from scratch, but is that number, say, $250,000, $300,000, does that seem a reasonable number to you, given what you've seen?
Well, certainly it is cheaper to reverse engineer something than to come up with it from scratch. And so, for example, if they were starting from nothing and then had to gather the stakeholders around the table and talk about what they wanted to develop and build a plan and all that, $250,000 would probably be well on the low end of that, because it is a fairly complex process to requirements gather for an app. But even if you included that in it, $1 million would have been reasonable, $2 million maybe. The fact that you're able to do it for orders of magnitude less than the eventual $54 million and counting price of it shows very clearly that agile development firms who hand it over to their employees and say, go have at it, they can do it a lot more efficiently than a giant government program can. And so maybe not $250,000 cheap, but certainly a lot less than what the government is quoting.
So we only overspent, roughly, to be fair, by about $50 million.
Yeah, only. So, we could have made a Hollywood film with that kind of money. I'd be okay with that.
Carmi, this statement that you made, it's so straightforward. The government has no business being in technology. So what should they do instead? Just go straight to the nerds, straight to the hackers, and save $53 million in the process?
Yeah, in future, I would love for the government to reach out directly to either companies like these two in Toronto that did, one was Laser Technologies, the other was Tribal Scale, and ask them, hey, it doesn't cost anything to have a phone call to just scope it out, bounce some ideas around. Canada is a very tech-forward country with hundreds of thousands of some of the world's best software developers working at all levels of the industry. Any one of them would love to be able to participate in a program like this. And hackathons, which are the sort of the process that both of these companies use to develop these replica apps, they're a great way for members of the development community to come together and innovate and come up with really cool ideas and develop things very quickly in a very agile manner. I've run a number of them throughout my career, and it's how we've identified talent, how we've hired the right people. It's how software development works, and the fact that the government isn't taking advantage of this is kind of staggering. You know, they're always saying, we want to make the best use of the limited taxpayer resources that we're given. Spend our tax dollars best. That isn't happening here, and I really wish at some point somebody in government, federal, any level, would really get a clue.
I mean, I love it in theory, a hackathon, but I imagine how people would react if the
but
government...
it's sensitive information as well.
Yeah, in fact, it's probably the wrong way to call it.
Yeah.
And a hackathon is actually a good thing. These are not black hat hackers looking to break into systems. These are software developers who are trying to hack together. In other words, just roll up their sleeves and in an afternoon or a couple of days over a weekend, evenings, whatever, come up with some innovative solution. It's a good thing. It's the community doing amazing things to generate and create new forms of technology. So maybe hackathon is a bit of a misunderstood term, but it's a very positive term, and it could do wonders to allow governments to develop better solutions using the power of the community that's already in place.
So I want to ask a question. I don't want to necessarily, condemn any of these. You mentioned 23 different companies were involved in this project, which seems to me like about 20 too many. I mean, literally, when you see the program itself, was someone getting ripped off here? I mean, I know that the answer is kind of yes, but I mean, intentionally, do you think?
Oh, absolutely, because I think it wasn't about delivering the best technology in the most efficient manner. It was about making sure that maybe friends of those in power got some contracts and got paid. It's technological political pork. And it's the reason why, for example, you have, NASA-funded programs in the U.S. Every time they launch the Space Launch System, the Artemis rocket, it'll be $4 billion a throw because you have to have certain facilities in certain states because every politician needs to have that support. Everyone needs to have a piece of that budget. 23 different companies to create one app, to me, suggests the Canadian version of political technological pork. And that needs to stop as well. And I think it's a reasonable question to ask the government, why?
I wonder if there's actually going to be an investigation based on the fact that, it just seems like such a waste of money for something that could have been done for considerably less.
And obviously, it's happening all the time.
Yeah.
This of course it is, but when we see examples like that, we should call them out and resolve it for next time.
Yep.
Okay. So, Carmi, next time the government has an app they'd like developed, I'm going to call you if I hear about it. And you can kind of drive us to a couple of people who could put it together for $30 or $40 million less than the government would have spent. Is that okay?
I've got a long list of people who would give their IT to be part of it.
Excellent. CARMI Levy, our CJAD 800 tech expert. Thank you, Carmi.
Thanks, Carmi.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
You bet.